Welcome, everybody, to the C-Suite Sherpa podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Marshall, and our podcast is focused on great resources for the C-Suite. We've got a good one here today. I want to introduce you to Marc. So, Marc, tell us about yourself and your business.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Marc Angelos. I run a company called Invictus Communications, which is a content strategy firm for C-suite executives. We offer guidance for C-suite execs who are looking to increase their public presence and their digital leadership skills. The problem is many executives are great builders. They're not as good communicators on these platforms. We offer a series of trainings, coaching to help them express their mission, vision, values in a succinct way, which attracts investors, talent, and helps grow the valuation of their firm.
No, that's great. Let's dive a little deeper here. I'm an executive of a company, and I'm thinking, hey, I might need Marc's help. What's going on in my life that would cause me to hire you to help me out? What are some things that I'm experiencing as an executive that would be great identifiers of somebody who needs your help?
Time crunch. You are running a firm, Brian. You have responsibilities to employees, to investors, to your customers. Making content it's not just you can press a button. I know about the AI tools. There's a strategy piece before any content creation. It takes time to understand your messaging. How are you positioned differently? What makes your firm different in the marketplace? All of that has to be mapped. And I'm talking the wording of what you say. This is digital positioning on the platforms so you can differentiate what you do out there.
Yeah, with AI, and I want to talk a little bit about AI. You and I were chatting about AI tools before we started the podcast. It's getting harder and harder to understand whether somebody's actually saying something or if it's completely AI generated. How do you deal with that?
Personal anecdotes, your life experience, that is the one thing that is non-AIable, right? Any content can be copied, your personal experience cannot. But the value of that experience has to be communicated properly. It has to connect to your business mission. If you lead any organization or in any position as a founder or executive, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to connect what you've lived to how that informs what you do now. It's not as simple as pressing a button. You can chat GPT everything. I'm familiar with all the tools. I run a content strategy firm. Before you get to that AI piece, which just is about efficiency, there's another brick in the wall, if you will. You got to unravel that for people because the connective piece, as the AI world unfolds and the tools become so ubiquitous, we're already overwhelmed with content shock. It's about the personal relationship you build through these platforms. Those who do it get the business. Those who don't, do not.
So, look, great points. You're going to help people develop content that's going to really promote their brand and help drive traffic.
It's not about developing content. Anyone can do. You don't need me for that. You've got tools. There's three things that anyone that wants to become a digital leader, if you will, would need. Number one, an understanding of the business. A content strategy partner has to understand business in general and specifically yours. Number two, there has to be personal anecdotes out of you that person can pull, right? So before we can create the messaging, et cetera, what are the parts of you as the leader that we need to parse? Number three, an understanding of content itself, the channels. How do you work? The text are working almost as well. And carousels, which worked great last year, you do need to have a knowledge of that if you want to take advantage of these platforms.
Got it. So you use the word strategy. That's a key word for me. I own a strategy platform that helps people really optimize and get their team all on the same page. So understanding that someone's business strategy sounds like it would be an important part of what you do. So is that right?
100%. So my background, I come from 30 years of capital markets, finance, Wall Street, real business, if you will. Strategy is the whole game. It didn't matter how you do what you do. Like that's the tactical piece. It matters what you're trying to get done. For example, when Elon Musk gives away the blueprints to Tesla and everyone thinks he's an idiot, but later it's able to make the prime battery provider for the recharging stations because everyone's using his design. That was a strategic genius move.
Right.
Strategy happens before tactics. People don't understand the difference. They are not the same. What's being sold out there on every platform is just tactics.
Yeah. I agree. One of the challenges that I'm curious if you're seeing as well, the world is changing faster than we can plan, right? The old planning model, the 3 to 5 years, quarterly meetings, once a year we go offsite. We got to start planning out a quarter like it's a year. I mean, things are happening so rapidly that it's really hard. Are you seeing the same thing from a marketing strategy standpoint?
No. Overarching strategy shouldn't really change much. Your tactics will change as the events change. You can't do a 3 to 5 year plan anymore. The concept of long-term plans, forget it. So it becomes a reactionary thing of, well, how quickly can you pivot? This is why small companies are eating the lunch of these big firms right now.
Yeah,
And your strategy should be mapped, but you're not married to it ever. No battle plan survives first contact with the enemy.
right. I come from the software industry, and we've adopted an agile iterative strategy planning because there's strategic thinking. That's the big picture stuff, but the strategic planning component, literally almost every day you need to replan your business because of all the data points that are coming in. How does that apply to strategy and marketing as well? Is there a constant iterative
I'll tell
generation
you with the
cycle?
iterative, this is so simple, it's going to shock you. It's the thinking of the leader becomes the strategic piece. So the fact that AI is encroaching upon your business or blockchain is now a factor, how do you think about these things? I don't care your answer. I care how you think because how that leader thinks determines the company's ultimate direction. If I'm an investor, if I'm a customer, I just want to know what Brian thinks of what's happening. Brian is worried about whether he's going to be right or wrong. Those days are over. Like, I need to know where you are on the pendulum here. Are you in on AI? Are you out? Do you think blockchain is going to be regulated or not? Again, no wrong answers, but strategy pivots when the leader has a different objective. That shouldn't really happen. So this is a communications game.
I totally agree. So give me a profile of what an ideal client would look like for you. We've talked in generalities, but let's nail down what an ideal client profile is for you.
Most of my ideal clients, as you describe, are fintech CEOs. I come out of the technology side. I used to sell AI trading software to hedge funds. I'm a sales guy at heart. Most of the technology folks that I help, very smart people, can build it, but they have trouble expressing the value of what they have created. The communications piece of what your thing does is the stumbling block for most executive leaders. It's more of an issue there.
Agree. I'm glad we were able to narrow that down for you. Give me a sense of the challenges that you see over the next 5 years. How is the industry evolving, and what kind of challenges is it going to cause us as clients and you as an expert in your field?
As clients, every company needs to be thinking about decentralization, right? And I'm not specifically talking about blockchain, but the fact is, you don't need these monolithic structures as a company. You don't need one client only to be carrying your business. Decentralization is a theme across all business. So you need to account for that. And that goes right down to staffing, right? We've seen this with the whole work from home thing. Decentralization of the client, decentralization of your talent, decentralization of how you run your company systems wise. That's the whole AI conversation. That's a challenge for anyone running a company. From my perspective of the marketing of it, it's still the same issue of the time crunch that you're running a company. We'll use you, Brian, for example. I need to be able to get your thinking out of you on a regular basis because business does change day to day. And if something has happened in the marketplace that's going to affect your company, we had a Microsoft outage over the CrowdStrike thing about a month ago.
Right.
One of my customers hit me up out of nowhere and was like, dude, we need to respond to this because we could take advantage of this in the moment, which we did. So there was a thought leadership piece out of the CEO right then and there. My point is, we'll call it trend jacking, we'll call it news jacking. You want to be on top of things as they occur. So for me, being timely in helping you communicate, that's the challenge.
When I was growing up, we just called it adaptability and agility.
It's times 10 now.
It sounds like things are changing so quickly that it's on steroids.
There's also a data analytics piece for me that they don't have to worry about. If we put out two or three things around you, Brian, how you think, what your company's doing, I need to know which of those hits. Where are you getting the most engagement from your potential ideal client? Which platform is performing the best for you? These are things where you want to double down on a data-based approach, data orientation now, as you know. And this really worked. We need to do more of this thing because it's going to help your business.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, we've had a serious conversation. Let's switch gears, have a little bit of fun. And if you're watching this, stick around because at the end of the lightning round, I'm going to ask Marc to tell us how to get in contact with him. So, Marc, let's go to the lightning rounds. I'm going to ask you some quick questions. There's no wrong answer. It's a chance for people to get to know you better. So, are you ready?
Bring it.
All right, let's go. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you can only grab one weapon or item at the start of the zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
A sword.
Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
It's a problem, but it's not my problem.
Favorite movie?
Star Wars.
You're the first guy to say that. That's awesome.
I'm the first guy to own it.
I love Star Wars. A generational thing. favorite streaming.
I don't watch any streaming series, zero. I kid you not. If you want to talk about YouTube channels, I can tell you that. It's education only
Okay.
for me.
All right. Sounds good. So you have a favorite book?
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
One bucket list item that you've already accomplished.
Driving across the country with my kids.
That's a bucket list for sure.
It was a lot of fun.
We'll get together, have coffee. I'll tell you about the RV trip I took my kids on for an entire summer.
I'm interested.
One bucket list item that you haven't accomplished yet.
Going to the Galapagos Islands with my kids and wife.
Last question, biggest obstacle that you've personally had to overcome and your big takeaway from overcoming that obstacle.
So I left 30 years in corporate finance to start my own company 5 years ago. There's no preparation at all for becoming an entrepreneur after you've been a career employee. But still going, loving it.
And anybody else thinking about doing that, what would your advice be?
Develop your offer clearly and your messaging before you launch.
There you go. Yeah, I tell people, don't burn your bridge. Don't give up your income until you have an income stream that you can step into.
It's all about the networking. We talked about this. That's it, man.
That's it. Build a big network.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, Mark, it's been awesome talking to you. So as I mentioned earlier, if someone's sitting here watching this, they really want to get in contact with you. And again, we'll put this in the description in the video when we post it on our YouTube channel. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, and I am Marc Angelos NYC on every social.
Okay. So we'll post all that on our channel for those of the folks that are interested in getting in touch with you and make it easy for them, make it easier for you. Mark, it's been great having you on the podcast. Really enjoyed getting to know you just a little bit better.
Honor was mine, Brian. Thank you. I appreciate it.